This paper is all about our summer vacation.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I went to Siesta Key, Florida with Carmen and played at the beach. Next, I learned how to fish and got a new rod, tackle, box, and bait. Then, football season started. We won 38-0 in our first and second game. Finally, I got into golf and then got really good. I had the best summer vacation ever.
Over summer vacation, I did many fun things. First, I went to a Cyndi Lauper concert with my friends Emilia, Adriana, Frankie, Emmy, and Macy. Next, I went to Myrtle Beach and I found lots of cool shows with my friends Bryn and Jacob. I also went to Pittsburgh and got a skull panda and a facial with my aunt. Lastly, I went to church camp. It was an hour away. I made many new friends. My summer vacation was great. I hope yours was too.
Over summer vacation, I did many things. First, I went to Florida and Naples. I went to the beach and had a picnic. Next, I went to gymnastics and went on the bars. And at cheer, we cleaned up the dance. Then, I rode my bike with my friends. We went to the park and around the neighborhood. Last, I went to Germany. I've been there many times. I had an awesome summer vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I went to Siesta Key, Florida for 1 week and went to the beach. Next, I went to the Canfield Fair and rode a lot of rides. I had a fun time. Then, I went outside a lot. I went to play with my friends. Lastly, I went to a zoo in Pennsylvania. I fed giraffes, I saw lions, and saw a giant turtle. I had an awesome summer vacation.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I visited Omaha, Nebraska, and stayed with my cousins. Next, I went to the Canfield Fair and got a candy apple. Also, I went mini golfing at Sports World and got a hole-in-one. Last, I went swimming at the Lake Club pool a lot. I had an awesome summer vacation.
This is how I spent my summer vacation. First, I went to the Canfield Fair and I had really good noodles. Next, I went swimming at the river next to my cabin. Then I went biking through my neighborhood. Last, I went to my cabin in Clarion, Pennsylvania. I had an awesome summer vacation.
Over summer vacation, I did many things. First, I celebrated my birthday at my grandparents' lake house in Lakewood, New York. Next, I went to Midway, an amusement park in Lakewood, New York. Then, I went to the Descendants and Zombies Worlds Collide tour. Last, I had many sleepovers with my friends. We were so crazy. I love summer vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I went to the Strong Museum. It's a kids museum in New York. Next, I went to New York for my vacation, and we saw a fox. Then, at my dad's house, we got a kitten. His name is Edgar. Last, I swam in lakes, pools, and ponds. I had the best summer vacation.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I swam in my pool with my sister. Then I went to Hershey Park and got a lot of cool things. Next, I ate a lot of ice cream. Last, I played with my friends. I had a great summer vacation.
Over summer vacation, I did a lot of things. First, I went to Cedar Point and rode Valraven. Next, I went on a Disney cruise. The food was so good. Then I saw the characters. I also went to Indian Creek. I went fishing and caught 3 catfish, 2 bluegill, and a striped bass. I had an awesome summer vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I went to Daytona Beach. Our hotel was right on the beach, and I boogie boarded. Next, I went swimming in a waterfall and went cliff jumping into the water. Then I made a new trick. When I stand up on the handlebars and act like I'm playing the guitar. Last, I went fishing. I caught 2 largemouth bass, bluegill, sunfish, and smallmouth bass. I had an awesome summer vacation.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I got a new dog in Buffalo, New York, and the dogs there were calm. Next, I was on my iPad a lot, and it was so fun. Then I read everywhere. I could not stop. Lastly, I watched and played on my screen so much I couldn't go to sleep. Did you like my story? I hope you enjoyed it.
This is a story about my summer vacation. First, I went to Mateus's, John's, and Roman's birthday parties. 2 were at the swim club and 1 was at their aunt's. Next, I drew a map that has all the countries and flags. Then I went to the Museum of Illusion. It had crazy illusion. Lastly, I went to the Campfield Fair. I had 3 butterflies on my arm. My summer vacation was so fun. What about yours?
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I went to Lewis Beach in Delaware. I saw lots of dolphins and jellyfish. Next, I had a soccer game at Howland. We won 1-0. I had so much fun. Then, I went to the Campfield Fair and rode a lot of rides and then got some food. Last, I had swim chance at Pool and Swim Club. I swam in both backstroke and breaststroke. These were some things that kept me busy during my summer vacation.
Over summer vacation, I did many things. First, I went to my brother's 5th birthday party. Next, I went to biking on the dirt ramps and trails. Then I went to Waldameer and it was fun. My favorite thing was the water world. Finally, I went to Irons Mills and I did so much. I had an awesome vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I visited Myrtle Beach and had a lot of fun. Next, I went to the Canfield Fair and got a lot of cool stuff. Then I played outside a lot with my friends and had a lot of fun. Last, I went biking outside and had lots of fun. I'm sad to see the summer go, but I had a ton of fun. But now it's time for school now.
Over summer vacation, I did many things. First, I visited Lewis Beach in Delaware and I saw my cousins Kate and Jane. Next, I visited my friends and we played outside. It was very fun. Then, I swam in my grandpa's pool with my family. Finally, I went to Grove City in Cleveland, Ohio, and I got new stuff to wear for the first day of school. My summer vacation was great and hope yours was too.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I went to Paris, France, and Italy for 12 days. Also, I got a new pool in my backyard. Then I went to Las Vegas and our hotel had many pools and a mall. Last, I played outside and spent time with my pets. These were some things I did over summer vacation to keep myself busy.
This is what I did for my summer vacation. First, I visited New York and went to an M&M store at night. Next, I played a lot of games on summer break and I had some girls' night with my sister. Also, I played with throwing darts outside and it was fascinating to be outdoors. Finally, I went to Splash Lagoon, which is an indoor water park, and I went on many big rides with my sister. I had an amazing summer vacation. I hope you did too.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I visited New Jersey to see my grandparents, but they didn't know that we were coming. Next, my grandparents got payback on us by surprising us, and we got to go to the Canfield Fair. Then we went back to New Jersey to go to my uncle's wedding. Finally, we went to Florida to go on a cruise. My summer vacation was great and I hope yours was too.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I got 2 pet skunks in Louisiana, and I really liked them. Next, I visited Destin, Florida. It was hot. I liked it. Then I went to the Campfield Fair. I rode the zipper 8 times. Lastly, I went to the Berlin Zoo. I saw so many animals. That was all about my summer vacation.
Over summer vacation, I did many things. First, I went to Waldameer theme park and I went on many rides. Next, I went swimming in my pool with my friends a lot. Then I watched a lot of WWE and SummerSlam was my favorite. Last, I went to Waldameer Water Park and I rode many water slides. I had an awesome summer vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I went on huge water slides at Waldameer. My favorite ride was the log ride. Then we went to Lake Erie. I went swimming and fishing with my dad, and he caught a monster fish. Also, I rode a boat with my family and pet dogs. Lastly, my cousins came over to my house. That's some things I did over summer vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I lost 2 teeth in the span of 2 days. Next, I went to a hotel to see my grandma and cousins, and we went to Holiday World. Then I went to my old neighbor's pool and got some soup, so I swam in my clothes. Last, I went to Campfield Fair with my dad and sisters. We went on the zipper. I had an awesome summer vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I visited Charleston, South Carolina, and I went to a water park on water. Next, I went swimming in my cousin's pool a lot. Then I went to the Campfield Fair and rode a lot of rides.
Finally, I went to the beach and I surfed and played in the sand. I had an awesome summer vacation.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and we went to a very fun place called The Hangout. Next, I had a sleepover with my cousins and we had lots of fun. Also, I went to a Guardians game and I got to run the bases. Lastly, I went on lots of bike rides around my neighborhood. I had a blast over summer vacation.
Over summer vacation, I did many things. First, I went to Atlanta, Georgia to see my cousin. Next, we took 3 planes to get to Bangkok, Thailand to visit my dad's family. Then I had a sleepover with my friends Ted and Gabe. Last, we went to the Canfield Fair and rode many rides. I had an awesome summer vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I went to Myrtle Beach and went in the ocean. Next, I went to Kennywood and had lots of fun. Then, I went swimming at my friend's house and had fun. Last, I rode my bike around my neighborhood with my friends and had a blast. I had a blast over my summer vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I went to Tennessee and did lots of fun things. Next, I went to Black Bear Island. It is always fun there. Then I had 5 sleepovers with my friend Claire. Last, when I was in Tennessee, I went to Dollywood. It was so much fun. These are just some of the things I did over my summer.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I went to Sandusky, Ohio, and I went to a foam party. Next, I rode my motorcycle with my dad. Then I went swimming at my Aunt Donna's swimming pool. Last, I went to the Canfield Fair and got a lot of 3D printed stuff. I had an awesome summer vacation.
Over summer vacation, I did many things. Every year, my neighborhood hosts a block party, and it was tons of fun. I also live next to the pool and swim club, and we went every weekend. Then my mom, dad, brother, sister, and I went to Marblehead to stay on the beach. Last, I rode my bike a ton, and it was so fun. My summer vacation was great, and I hope yours was too.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I went to the water park in Lake Erie called Waldemere. Next, I went to the movie theaters and saw Captain America. Next, I went to North Carolina to see my grandpa. Finally, I saw fireworks at Westminster College. It was the best fireworks ever.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, my cousins came. It was their first time in America, and it was their second time out of the country. Next, my family and I went to the zoo, and we saw flamingos, goats, bats, capybaras, ponies, and birds. Then we went to Cedar Point, and it was a big adventure just to get there. Also, when we were going to the scariest roller coaster, it started to rain, so we couldn't go on the ride. Finally, my grandparents came. We did so many fun things, like having a million sleepovers with them and going shopping so many times. And it was a blast. These are just some of the things I did over summer break.
Over summer vacation, I did many things. First, I visited Washington, D.C. in the U.S. and I saw the White House where the president lives. Secondly, I went to the pool in my neighborhood and I swam a lot. I also went bowling at Camelot Lanes. I had pizza and got a really high score in bowling. Lastly, I went to a water park called Sandcastle and I rode lots of water slides. My summer vacation was eventful and very fun.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, my Mimi and Pop came to visit from New Iberia, Louisiana. Next, I went swimming in my Uncle Dan's pool so many times. Also, I went to Kennywood and rode the steel curtain. Last, I had lots of sleepovers at my uncle's house with my cousins over the summer. I had a blast this summer.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I went swimming many times at the lake club and also did golfing lessons there too. Next, I went to Lakeside with my family and cousins and we went bike riding and swimming. Then I went with my family and grandma to Columbus. We went to the Columbus Zoo and saw a lot of cool animals. Last, I got ready for the Canfield Fair and I took my animals. I took 1 pig named Rose Petal and 2 feeder calves named Marshall and Herman. And I won 2 ribbons with my pig. Those are some things I did over summer vacation. This is all about my summer vacation. First, I visited the fair with my friend and my sister. We went on rides together. We had so much fun. Next, I visited my Nana and some of my cousins came over to swim. Then I practiced softball outside with my Nana and my sister. Last, I played with my cousins before they left. We had so much fun.
My summer vacation was great, and I hope yours was too.
Over summer vacation, I did many things. Here are some of them. First, I went to Lake Erie with my family and stayed in a cottage by the lake. We also swam in the lake. It was so much fun. Next, I had a sleepover with my friends and had a paintball fight. Then, I went to the Campfield Fair with my family and ate so much good food. Finally, I played outside with my friends a lot and rode my bike a lot. I had an awesome summer vacation.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I visited Myrtle Beach in South Carolina and had a ton of fun. Next, my friends slept over at my house 2 times. Then I went to a swim party and the people hosting gave me a 3D printer. Lastly, I got a new bike for my birthday from Walmart and I rode it a lot. In total, my summer was incredible and these are just 4 things I did.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I went to the Columbus Zoo. My favorite part was the gorillas. Next, I went to Mid-Ohio with my grandpa and dad. Mid-Ohio is a really big motorcycle show. I also went to the Campfield Fair. I showed many horses and 2 feeder calves. I showed and sold my calves. Last, I visited my Aunt Marsha as much as I could. She has a swimming pool in her backyard, so I went swimming. My summer vacation was awesome.
Over summer vacation, I did many different things. First, I went to Lake Erie with my mom, sister, and dad, and we looked for seashells. Next, I went hiking with my family, and we saw a black snake. Then my mom's worked through a party, and my dad came, and we played games and ate good food. Last, I went to the street fair with my grandparents, and we got food, and I passed out on one of the rides. I had a great summer vacation.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I went to Bar Harbor, Maine, and ate really good food. Second, I had 3 sleepovers at my cousin's house, and we went swimming and ate snow cones. Then I went hiking, and at the end, we saw a really big waterfall. Last, I went to Michigan, and I went to the sand dunes, and I had really good ice cream. I had so much fun over my summer vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I went to Cedar Point and rode a bunch of roller coasters. Next, I went to the water park and swam for a while. Then I got a snake and we named him Cheeto. Last, I went fishing and I caught a 5-pound bass. I had an awesome summer vacation.
This is all about my summer vacation. First, I visited my great uncle and aunt in Virginia and saw my cousin Rebecca for the first time in person. Next, I went to Water Country USA with my cousin. It was so fun. Then, I got to stay in a suite on a vineyard. It was so pretty. Lastly, I rode bikes and played kickball with my friends around our neighborhood. My summer vacation was so fun, I wish it was still going on.
These are 4 things I did over summer vacation. First, I went to the Louisville Bike Trail in Louisville, Ohio. Next, I went swimming at the Poland Local Swim Club. Then I went on many trips to go to work with my mom because no one was home to watch me. Lastly, I had a lot of fun at some sleepovers. My summer vacation was a blast.
These are some things I did on my summer vacation. First, I went to the water park. I went on the biggest slide. It was so fun. Next, I rode my dune buggy with my friends and made trails. Then I went to the beach and a dead shark washed up on foot. Last, I went to Walden and rode so many rides. This was a great summer vacation.